PR Connections Radio presents.
Welcome to Vegas Hockey Hub here on PRConnectionsRadio.com, the voice of new media. I'm your host, Ian Rachiele. And on this edition of Vegas Hockey Hub Recap, where we break down and discuss every single game during the Vegas Golden Knights 2023-2024 season, we're going to be talking about the most recent matchup that happened and an unfortunate situation on the road in Boston. So we're going to be breaking down all of those stories and everything that happened in this game here on PRConnectionsRadio.com, the voice of new media. Now, I highly recommend going to the website and checking out all of the content we have on the network. We have about a dozen shows on the platform, including Vegas Hockey Hub. So I highly recommend going to the website and supporting the network. We also have a YouTube channel at PR Connection. So if you subscribe and like, that would help them out very much. If you also want to follow the show, we are at Vegas Hockey Hub on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. We are everywhere on all social media platforms. And if you want to follow your host, I am also everywhere at Ian J. Rachiele. So if you want to support me, that would be great. And a little side note here, I also publish articles as well. So I publish articles on a website called thesportsangle.com. So if you want to go to www.thesportsangle.com, I post hockey articles on there. So if you want to read my hockey articles, go to thesportsangle.com. And I would say, once again, PR Connections Radio, you see the banner right above me. Go look at their social media links and support the network. That would be great. Now, with this game, we have to do some trade deadline updates that have been happening as of late. Now, we did hear one of the first official trades to officially happen in the Western Conference. Christopher Tanev, the really solid defenseman in Calgary, he is going over to Dallas. The Anaheim Ducks, they sent a former defenseman back to Toronto, where he was originally. And, there's been a few small moves that are happening. But your Vegas Golden Knights have been linked to so many people. Oh, my goodness. They have been linked to so many different people right now. One of the first people that they are being linked to is the New Jersey Devils and Tyler Toffoli. Now, it has been rumored and reported that Tyler Toffoli, it might go down to Edmonton and Vegas. That has been the report as of now. It does make sense for Tyler Toffoli to go back to the Western Conference. He played for Calgary. He played for LA. Now he is over with the New Jersey Devils. So going for Tyler Toffoli, that'd be a middle six type of guy that Vegas could use with this organization. I don't hate the move. I don't think that it would be a bad move at all. The Ottawa Senators, once again, Vladimir Tarasenko, as the days are moving forward and the days are getting closer and closer, Vladimir Tarasenko, his name keeps getting popped up in that conversation. So, yeah, Vladimir Tarasenko, he keeps getting involved there. I think Sean Walker with the Philadelphia Flyers, I've heard his name pop up. There's probably one or two teams that are interested in getting a defenseman out there at the Philadelphia Flyers. Jake Gunzel, who we talked about in the most recent Vegas Hockey Hub recap, he has been linked to the Vegas Golden Knights organization. Anthony Duclair with the San Jose Sharks. There's possibility of him being dealt and being moved on to somebody else. And then the Seattle Kraken, Jordan Eberle. This is someone who I personally would love to have here with the Vegas Golden Knights, but it just depends on what you have to give up in the deal. Two more players, Pavel Buchnevich with the St. Louis Blues. Big cap hit. But with him, he would be a guy that you would have short term if you do trade for him. And the upside is that he is a legit top six forward on any organization. Unfortunately, you're also seeing with the Washington Capitals, Anthony Mantha is on the trade block, but so is Max Pacioretty as well. And everyone here in Vegas remembers Max Pacioretty. You know who he is. So could he make a return to Vegas? I doubt it. But since his name is on the trade block and his name has been rumored around, since I've talked about a reunion with Riley Smith, I have to be fair and have to include Max Pacioretty's name for a reunion as well. And then Anthony Mantha, who's somebody that I would like personally. He's a defensive-minded guy. I think he'd be a solid middle six forward if Vegas did acquire him. His name has also been mentioned. So, yeah, there's been a lot of good names that have been mentioned when it comes to the NHL trade deadline. And overall, with the NHL trade deadline, I really sit here and say your Vegas Golden Knights could make, they can make some few moves. They can make one or two moves, or the Vegas Golden Knights can stay put, do nothing, and hope that, one of their big hitters does come back. Because with this team right now, this team is so injury plagued and so injury riddled at the moment that maybe McCrimmon, Foley, and McPhee are just kind of going to be sitting back, watching what the rest of the league does, and then they are going to make their own decision and determine what is best for the organization. We've seen Vegas do that before. Vegas Golden Knights have actually been pretty well known for doing stuff like that. So when it comes to the trade deadline, I expect them to make one or two moves, but nothing really flashy at the trade deadline for your Vegas Golden Knights. I really don't see the Vladimir Tarasenko thing. Tyler Toffoli is a brand new one, and I highly doubt that's going to happen. And then Jake Gunzel is really shocking. If that did happen, I would be genuinely surprised if it did. Anthony Duclair, Jordan Eberle, maybe somebody like Buchnevich, if they can find a way to make the cap work, I think that would work. And then once again, Anthony Mantha, that's a personal choice, but I think that Anthony Mantha would actually be a good pick for Vegas in the long term. So getting into past the trade deadline, the roster moves, there was a 1v1 today as Jack Eichel, he is back practicing in a normal jersey, skating around with the organization. And the unfortunate news, and this is actually one of the biggest news that we have had, Mark Stone is out with a lacerated spleen, and he is out and he is put on long-term IR. So the worst case scenario for your Vegas Golden Knights have happened. Mark Stone, he is going to be out, and you're not going to see him for a while. So Kelly McCrimmon was correct the day after during that press conference when he said that he was going to be out for a while. We just had to wait almost an entire week to find out what Mark Stone was, and that is a lacerated spleen. He is put on long-term IR, but the good news is they put him on there, but they take off Jack Eichel. So essentially it was a 1v1 swap when it came to the long-term IR. So overall, that's the situation for Vegas. Adin Hill, after having a solid performance against the Toronto Maple Leafs, he would be in net for this game against the Boston Bruins. And this is a Boston Bruins team when they faced off a while ago. And just to really take you back, you got to remember when Vegas Golden Knights took on the Boston Bruins back in January, that was a good hard-fought battle, but Adin Hill wasn't there yet. Adin Hill was still on the sidelines. He was still not with the organization. LT was in net for Vegas. So, a lot has changed from, beginning of January to the end of February. So Adin Hill in net for Vegas. Would be interesting to see how he does for your Vegas Golden Knights because, it could go very good for him or it could go very wrong for him. So it had to wait and see how he does as a unit and really be interesting to see how he performs overall when it comes to the situation there. Now, going over the lines for your Vegas Golden Knights here on Vegas Hockey Hub Recap, I'm your host, Ian Rachiele. And this has been a really interesting situation here as right now you have this certain line combinations at this moment in time. You have right now Michael Amadio, you have Chandler Stevenson, and you have Ivan Barbashev, you have Brennan Bryson, you have Jonathan Marchessault, and William Karlsson. So the 1971-81 line is back, but instead of Riley Smith, it is Brendan Bryson that is on that line, helping the Vegas Golden Knights in that category. Nick Waugh, he'll be teaming up with Paul Cotter and Sheldon Rempel. And then on the fourth line, you have Mason Morelli, Keegan Kolazar, and Byron Frazee. So, kind of a different starting lineup for your Vegas Golden Knights. There's a little bit of changes here in the starting lineup. But overall, for your Vegas Golden Knights, You see the 1981-71 line. They're coming back to form. You're also seeing a bit of a difference with Chandler Stevenson because of the fact that Mark Stone is out. You have him being teamed up with Michael Amadio, and then you have Ivan Barbashev, who's kind of on a different line now, and him being on that line with Stevenson and with Amadio. And then you also have the young guys in that organization. You have Paul Cotter, you have Nick Waugh, and you have Sheldon Rempel, who are, one AHL veteran, one young guy for Vegas, and then one guy who has kind of stepped up as a center since Jack Eichel got hurt in Nick Waugh. And then you have what I call the AHL line. So you have Byron Frazee, Mason Morelli, and Keaton Kolazar to help out your fourth and final line. Your defensive pairings in this game, you have Nick Hague and Zach Whitecloud. You have Alec Martinez and Alex Pietrangelo. So after going down the tunnel in the most recent game, Alec Martinez is fine. He's okay. He shook it off, and he is now back in the starting lineup. And then you have Brandon McNabb and Shea Theodore with Aiden Hill in net. So that was the starting lineup for your Vegas Golden Knights. And yeah, really solid game to really kick off. There's a lot of exciting action that we are going to be talking about here on this show. And starting in about 45 seconds, we're really going to break down the actual game and talking about what happened in this situation. So, kind of going into it, you're at TD Garden, you're in Boston. I mean, the Boston Bruins, original six team, one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference right now. So you have a Vegas team that's kind of been sledding just a little bit. Then you have Boston, who has done really well and solid as a contributor all year long. Now, getting into the game itself, the first half of the first period, there was not much that happened. For the Vegas Golden Knights, there was a shot by Michael Amadio that just went wide from Jeremy Swayman. So it was a 0-0 game between Boston and Vegas. And then you also had a situation where you ended up having Alex Pietrangelo. And Alex Pietrangelo, he had a connection there, and it just went over the top of the goaltender, and it just went over the goaltender's head. It did not have enough oomph under it to kind of go back down. So he went for the high shelf. He went top shelf, and it just did not execute there for the Vegas Golden Knights. So yeah, the defense really did some good work in the first period. I really like what I saw from Michael Amadio. He led the entire team in this game with six shots on net for your Vegas Golden Knights. Unfortunately, with about 6 minutes left in the first period, Morgan Geekie with his 14th goal of the season, assisted by Trent Frederick, to be a 1-0 game for Boston. So the hometown crowd, they get on their feet. They're excited. They're playing one of the most annoying goal horns I've ever heard in my life. And it's still a 1-0 game for the Boston Bruins. And I know some people love that goal horn. I don't. I find it to be one of the most annoying. Zombie Nation, I know what it is. It's annoying. But put my bias aside, Morgan Geekie, 14th goal of the season, the former Carolina Hurricane, former Seattle Kraken, now with the Boston Bruins on that middle six there. And, Boston Bruins, they find good use out of everybody in that starting lineup. Regardless of what line you are, the Boston Bruins find a way to execute and keep you around in order to make some good execution there. So, yeah, Morgan Geekie, 14th goal of the season. And this is not the last time you're going to hear of him. So a minute later in this game, 5 minutes left in the first period, unfortunately, the blood and the amount of bleeding would not go down, as Jesper Boqvist, with his fourth goal of the season, assisted by Kevin Shattenkirk, the former Stanley Cup champion, and the Boston Bruins would then be up 2-0 over your Vegas Golden Knights. And man, Aiden Hill just got beat on this play. It really seemed like Aiden Hill, it just could not connect on this play, just not enough time, and Boqvist just really got past him for his fourth goal of the season. Once again, I mentioned at the beginning a few minutes ago that the Boston Bruins do a great job at getting the most out of their unit. And just for this situation, you see it here. So the Boston Bruins being up by 2 with about 5 minutes left in the second period. But if you expected the bleeding to stop, okay, If you expected your Vegas Golden Knights to kind of help and not allow any more goals in the first period, you would be wrong. As 1 minute after this goal, Morgan Geekie would be back. And Morgan Geekie would be back exactly as he would score his 15th goal of the season, his second goal of the game with 4 minutes left in the first period, assisted by Dayton Dayton Heinen and David Pastrnak to be a 3-0 game for Boston. And man, this was just a terrible outing in the first period. I mean, this was a game that you let up 3 goals in the span of 2.5 minutes. Like, that is just absolutely terrible that in 2.5 minutes, you let up not just 1 goal, not just 2 goals, but you let up 3 different goals in 2.5 minutes. Just absolutely disgusting. And a lot of this has to do with Adin Hill. I mean, similar to the Toronto game last week, Adin Hill had a terrible performance in this game tonight. I mean, Adin Hill, he was just not doing what he had to do in this game. Adin Hill only at 84% save percentage in this game. And just overall, Adin Hill, I just don't really see, in terms of what he's done as of late, I don't see how you can say he's better than Logan Thompson at this point. Like, you can make a valid argument that when Logan Thompson's on the ice, you get more production and you get more wins from Logan Thompson than you do Adin Hill. Just really unfortunate, but Adin Hill is not what he was to begin the year. I would say swap him out, have Logan Thompson be the starting goaltender again, because Adin Hill is just not cutting it at this point. And yeah, Adin Hill, really bad period. Vegas Golden Knights would be down by 3 at the end of the first period. And the second period, the only penalty in this would be a Brandon Carlo roughing penalty by the Boston Bruins. Your Vegas Golden Knights would go on the power play, and Vegas would not capitalize on it. So they would go 0 for 1 on the power play in the second period. However, no fear, your Vegas Golden Knights would get on the board as about a minute and a half later, Paul Cotter with his 7th goal of the season, assisted by Nick Waugh and Shea Theodore. And just like that, your Vegas Golden Knights would get on the board for the first time at the TD Garden in Boston. So Paul Cotter, who's been a good contributor on the middle six since the last month and a half, his 7th goal of the year. Nick Waugh, a good setup on this play here. And then Shea Theodore has really been the assist master over the last few weeks. Him getting another assist in a pretty much a point streak that he has been getting week after week after week. So Shea Theodore, good call there. Nick Waugh, good setup. And Paul Cotter, 7th goal of the season. Now, he did score a lot more goals over the past couple of years, but with Paul Cotter, considering what he's contributing to the team, as long as he is not in the penalty box, he is okay. My only negative to Paul Cotter is that he causes unnecessary penalties. He's been doing it so often this season. That's my only complaint about him. But everything else, he does a fine job this year for your Vegas Golden Knights. So Paul Cotter, 7th goal of the season, assisted by Nick Waugh and Shea Theodore. So just like that, Vegas's deficit is cut down to 2 at the Garden in about TD Garden in Boston. So about 5 minutes later, your Vegas Golden Knights would get another opportunity to get on the board, and they would, as Alex Pietrangelo, 4th goal of the season, assisted by Jonathan Marchessault and Brendan Brisson. So just like that, not even halfway into the second period, your Vegas Golden Knights would cut the lead down by 1 with the Boston Bruins. And you could tell that the momentum was starting to shift. The energy was getting up there. And Vegas was like, hey, we're on the doorstep now. We're going to knock, and we're going to see if we can find a way to go through and win this game in Boston. We're not going to go down quietly. And Jonathan Marchessault, what can I say except for the fact that for the last 2 months, he has been one of the most valuable players for Vegas. He has just done an incredible job this year, and this is one of the examples of it. Jonathan Marchessault, I like what we've seen from him this year, and a good setup on this play by Brendan Brisson as well. I really look at it as just a good combined play. Brisson, Marchessault, then kick it back to Pietrangelo for the goal. Unfortunately, good things would not last for your Vegas Golden Knights, as 10 minutes later and about 4 minutes left in the second period, unfortunately, a hat trick would occur, as who else but Morgan Geekie with his 16th goal of the season. So just like that, Boston had 4 goals at this point, and 3 of them came from the same guy. So Morgan Geekie had 3 of the first 4 goals for the Boston Bruins. And for your Vegas Golden Knights, that must be frustrating, considering Morgan Geekie is not someone you would consider for a hat trick. I mean, if I'm studying the Boston Bruins organization, I'm looking at David Pastrnak, I'm looking at Brad Marchand, I'm looking at Jake DeBrusk. I mean, there's so many players I would have said was going to get a hat trick before Morgan Geekie would get a hat trick in this game. Now, about a minute later, the tide would turn for your Vegas Golden Knights as Michael Amadio with his 11th goal of the season, assisted by Braden McNabb and Chandler Stevenson. So just like that, your Vegas Golden Knights are now back down to a 1-goal deficit. I will say that having Michael Amadio be with Chandler Stevenson and being with Ivan Barbashev, that is a good move there. I would say in terms of chemistry, Michael Amadio, you could put him on any line, any combination really, and he's been able to make it work. And Chandler Stevenson, since Mark Stone is gone, teaming him up with a winger that has a caliber type of guy like Ivan Barbashev, it does make sense on that ideal. So for your Vegas Golden Knights, good line here. Michael Amadio, 11th goal of the season. And just like that, with about 2 minutes left, you would be at a 1-goal disadvantage with your Vegas Golden Knights. Now, getting into the third period for your Vegas Golden Knights, Keegan Kolesar would kick off the third period with a cross-checking penalty. He would go to the box, and Vegas would actually kill off this penalty kill. So they went 1 for 2 on the penalty kill in this game. Keegan Kolesar, that was a good job by Vegas to take advantage of that. Now, what was unexpected is what happened next, because about 5 minutes into the third period, while Keegan Kolesar was in the box, Vegas would be on a 5-on-4 opportunity, and Chandler Stevenson would get his 13th goal of the season and would be assisted by Zach Whitecloud on a shorthanded situation. It'd be a 4-4 deal with the Boston Bruins and Vegas Golden Knights. So just like that, Chandler Stevenson gets them back in the game, and it would allow the Vegas Golden Knights to kind of stay even and be neutral at this point with Boston with a few minutes left in the third period. Now, here comes the bad news. And I have to be incredibly nice when I say this, but Sheldon Rempel would get a tripping penalty. But if you watch the footage back, he gets tripped first, and then he trips the other guy. I mean, is this school? I mean, is this primary school where the first person shoves somebody, and then the second person shoves them back, and the second guy gets a penalty? Like, is that what we're doing here? Like, referees, how did you not see that? Like, honestly, like, referees, how did you not miss the original trip? Like, this should have not been a penalty. This should have not been a situation. And more importantly, the Golden Knights got screwed here by bad officiating. The bad officiating helped screw the Vegas Golden Knights in this situation. And I'm not going to say that Chris Rooney, I'm not going to judge any of the referees here. I'm just going to call it how it is. This was a terrible call that created a power play opportunity for Boston, and they would execute here. And in fact, they would get a power play goal to win the game. So you get a power play opportunity because of a BS penalty, and Boston wins the game. To me, that's just absolutely ridiculous. To me, it's pathetic. And I say that when it comes to that situation, I find it very odd that the Vegas Golden Knights got screwed over based off of penalties. But you know what? You got to take it. You got to move on. It is what it is. You can't change it. But the Boston Bruins would win this game 5-4 against the Vegas Golden Knights. Now, the win-loss record for Vegas, there it is on your screen right here, right now. And when it comes to the Vegas Golden Knights, this is a situation where Edmonton's catching them real quick. Even LA is starting to creep up just a little bit. Vancouver's taken off. I mean, Vancouver is like a Formula One car, okay? They have such good aerodynamics. They're lower to the ground. They've just taken off. They're pretty much leading the Pacific Division at this point. And your Vegas Golden Knights have stayed in neutral over the last couple of games. And it's just really unfortunate to see. Now, player of the game will go to Chandler Stevenson. Chandler Stevenson, a 2-point performance in this game tonight. 1 goal, 1 assist. But more importantly, when you actually study the box score, Chandler Stevenson did a lot tonight for the Vegas Golden Knights. It's a Chandler Stevenson that had 3 shots on net. He also had 1 takeaway in this game, and he played over 20 minutes on ice for Vegas. That was the most out of any forward on this team. This also the same Chandler Stevenson who won 8 face-offs, and we'll talk about the team stats later on. But yeah, Chandler Stevenson, good job by him there. And I will really sit here and say, you know what, Vegas Golden Knights, you lose a bad game because of officiating, but what can you do? That shouldn't have been a power play. I'll say it here and now. Now, the team stats, studying both of these games. The Vegas Golden Knights would outshoot Boston 36-32. Boston would out-hit Vegas 34-31. Vegas Golden Knights would have 2 penalties in this game. Boston would have 2. Vegas Golden Knights went 0 for 2 on the power play. Boston went 1 for 2 on the power play. So that means that Vegas went 1 for 2 on the penalty kill, and Boston, unfortunately, went 2 for 2 on the penalty kill. Block shots, Vegas outblocked Boston 21-14, and the takeaway game was massively favored towards the Vegas Golden Knights, as they had 14 takeaways compared to only 3 for the Boston Bruins. And the face-off circle, Vegas did have an edge here with a 54% face-off winning percentage in this game. Now, the upcoming schedule, we're going to be we're going to turn over the calendar. We're going to get into a new month. You have the Buffalo Sabres. That's in a couple of days. You have Columbus, and then they're going to be heading home to T-Mobile Arena and taking on the Vancouver Canucks. So we will be here for Vegas Hockey Hub Recap, breaking down every single game and really talking about what matters when it comes to your Vegas Golden Knights. Also, with the trade deadline, we're going to focus on every move that happens, including your Vegas Golden Knights and teams in the Pacific Division. So until next time, I'm your host, Ian Rachiele. Continue watching hockey. Go support junior hockey. Go to prconnectionsradio.com, the voice of new media. Check out all the shows on the network, including Vegas Hockey Hub. And if you also want to support your host, Ian Rachiele, go to www.thesportsangle.com and check out the articles that we write. We're going to be uploading new ones very soon. So until next time, have a good one, and hopefully referees don't screw you over as well.